Now, there's only one way we get to break down the sell countdown. When both of those things, these guys take your game to the next level.
You know, we're blessed to have an awesome team with Suresh and the guys to align and help us complete the thought. You know, I couldn't have imagined a better team to partner with. So thank you, John, for putting us with the best engineers over at Honeywell to help us complete this thought with Supermask.
All right, I want to thank John, first of all, for all the other work you did with my mask competition and for your incredible giving nature. And Will, I don't know, man, if there's anything you can't do. I mean, I know you as a business person before I knew you as a musician because I'm somewhat culturally robbed. But you are terrific. I want to thank both of you for coming on Mad Money. And congratulations. This is the mask that I want. All right? It's not the piece of paper that's in front of my face. Thank you so much, guys. That's John Waldron, Honeywell Safety, absolutely. Safety and Productivity Solutions. And we've got, yeah.
大家下午好哈，今天呢非常重磅的两个视频啊，当然不是郭文贵啊，也不是习近平啊，今天啊早上啊有一位我们的会员啊，他说老王啊，今天这个纳斯达克创新高啊，我们要不要买 put？ 因为德国银行啊说这个大盘要跌了，我说 really？ 我都没听说过太多的德国银行啊，因为我每天都有。不同的报告啊什么的，前两天这个美国银行说这个大盘即将暴跌啊，只是时间问题，任何一个触点呢就会触发。今天呢我给大家看一个视频，因为我找这个视频找了好久，在 YouTube 上没有这个如果你去 YouTube 的视频啊。你找那个 CNBC 啊，你找那个 Jim Cramer 没有？今天呢，我找了一个我订的这个 Wall Street CNBC Pro 叫 Uncut 非剪单元呢，那么这里面有这里面有其中讲到一个 Demark。来我们看一下哈，来我们看一下。我首先看一下今天大盘继续走高，今天我在这里呢，早盘呢就是收盘之前的这一个位置呢出掉了啊。另外呢，咱们昨天说的 ASO 啊，如果大家昨天看我的视频的朋友呢，今天CNBC 也放了一个视频，涨到33了啊，涨到33。然后回落回落什么情况？待会儿我们也看一个视频。今天有3个视频 actually 今天 actually 有3个视频那么纳斯达克100股指期货一开盘 pull back 走高走高道琼涨了51点，标普涨了7.50。好，我们来看这个视频来看这个视频。这个是讲的是一个 Jim Cramer 讲的一个，我会剪一下
Yes, Will I am. I've got to tell you, this is a team up that's going to make you think twice about not wearing a mask. Stick with Cramer.
Coming up, will all investors kindly check your emotions at the door? You need clear eyes to spot a top. Cramer's taking his 2020 vision off the charts. Next.
With the Dow and the S&P both hitting record highs today, before closing slightly lower, where do we go next? I think there's a lot to like about this market. You know that. But the current leadership groups have had some enormous runs, right? I mean, so you got to wonder, how much longer can it last? At times like this, rather than just getting emotional about it, you need to avoid getting swept away by that feeling of euphoria that I talked about at the top of the show. And that's what the technicals are for. So tonight we're going off the charts with the help of the legendary Tom Demark. And now, Tom is the pioneering head of Demark Analytics. All my life, I have followed this man's storied history of timing the market much better than almost everyone. For over a year now, ever since, I would say lately, better than anyone. For over a year now, we've been hearing about the first COVID outbreak in China, and he's had a remarkable track record. Demark called the meltdown last February. He called the bottom last March. He called the pullback in late October, along with the election day bottom. And right now, Demark's telling you, proceed with some caution. His model suggests that we're moving into a high-risk period right now, and he's expecting a near-term top in the stock market, not to mention bond yields and Bitcoin. Nice to have a little bit of contrary view here, right? Let's start with the daily chart of the S&P 500. Now, Demark's methodology is all about spotting key levels and key times where the action's likely to change course. Remember, this is predictive. It's not just coincidental. When it comes to the S&P, he's saying we're getting very close. In terms of timing, he and his team look for a 13-session countdown pattern. 13-session countdown pattern that tells them when a rally should run out of steam. Right now, the S&P needs 2 more days to fit the pattern. 2 days where the index has both a higher high and a higher close. But the countdown alone is not enough to call a top. Before that can happen, Demark also needs to see the S&P hit his price projection, which puts the peak around 4139. Okay? That's up a little more than 1% from here. That's roughly where you'd expect it to go after a couple of up days, which would complete Demark's sell countdown. When both of those things happen at roughly the same time, doesn't have to be exactly the same day. His method tends to reliably predict trend reversals. If only one indicator is hit, though, it could be point to a more modest move. For example, Demark's price projections nailed the short-term tops in mid-February and early September. But because his timing indicators didn't cooperate, he predicted some minor short-term pullbacks, which is exactly what we got. So it's got some variation to it. Here's another way to look at it. In February and March, the S&P had a pair of rallies, both of which lasted 9 trading days and produced 7% gains. The first was January 29th, February 9th. The second was from March 4th to March 17th. So far, the most recent rally has lasted for 6 trading days, but it's already taken the S&P up 6%. That's what it looks like when a trend is about to exhaust itself. Okay, exhausted. Once the S&P peaks, it could have a floor of support around 3909. All right, we see the floor. Though if it breaks down below that level, Demark's expecting some serious carnage. Beware. If you zoom out with the S&P's weekly chart, he notes that we're facing the same kind of uptrend exhaustion this coming week. The first time that happened since the bottom last March. Remember, he's been bullish. Big, this has been dead right. This has been his market. How about the action in Dow Jones Industrial Average? Okay, according to Demark, the pattern here is pretty much identical to what we saw with the S&P. If we get 2 more sessions where the Dow gives you both a higher high and a higher close, and if it rallies another 1.5% to its price target of 33959, might want to write that down, okay, 33959, then the chart says this move will run out of steam. Okay, now here's a quirky one, though. The Nasdaq. It's a little different because it's so tech-heavy. Check out the daily action in the QQQ. That's an ETF that tracks the Nasdaq 100, the 100 largest non-financial companies in the Nasdaq composite. The QQQ peaked in mid-February, then spent the next month getting hammered as professional money managers embraced the great reopening thesis and ditched the kind of tech stocks that were last year's biggest winners. A lot of them have fallen heavily this year. However, in the last few weeks, the Nasdaq 100 is rebounding hard off its lows, up 11%, and Demark believes it has the potential to climb another 5% from these levels. Purely based on the technicals, he thinks the Nasdaq has a lot more upside potential than the Dow or the S&P, at least for the moment. And don't forget, we started seeing nice rally in the high price to sales today, but yesterday was all about FANG. In other words, Demark's methodology tells him we could be on the verge of a significant counter-trend move, where the Dow and the S&P give up some of their gains, while the Nasdaq 100 plays catch up. It's a bold call at a time when most money managers want to double down on the great reopening trade, very contrary. But Demark's made a lot of those over the last 13 months, and he's usually right. Now, there's only one way we get a breakdown in the Dow and the S&P coupled with a rally in the Nas. That's if the bond market changes course. For months, stocks have been marching to the tune of the bond market. I tell you that every day. As Treasury yields surged, the high-flying growth names got slammed, while the boom and bust cyclicals roared higher. They're in sync with each other to roll back some of that rotation. Well, what needs to happen? Treasury yields need to go lower. All right, take a look at this. This is incredible. This is a daily chart of the yield on the benchmark 10-year Treasury. Demark's methodology accurately predicted the bottom in Treasury yields, all right, last August. And now he says, look out, peak. Just like the Dow and the S&P, if the yield on the 10-year gives up 2 more higher highs and higher closes in a row, that signals a top. For me, that's the linchpin of this whole thesis, okay? Remember, this is the 10-year yield index. It's not the price, okay? If the yield of the 10-year finishes Demark's countdown pattern and starts rolling over, which I think it might have been starting today, well, that will drag the Dow and the S&P, which also, the Dow did go down today. Plus, lots of money managers will figure they've got the bond market's permission to buy tech hand over fist. One last thing. All right, can't resist Bitcoin. Check out the daily chart of the king of cryptocurrencies that's doubled in price since mid-December. Now, I have always said I am not a crypto expert. My ken is stocks, all right? But Demark's system has predicted some major inflection points in this thing. And now he's seeing an uptrend exhaustion pattern in Bitcoin. Wow. Just like you spotted in the Dow and the S&P. No one wants to hear that if these people talk about Bitcoin, honestly, right? Demark's timing indicators are now firing warning signs. And if Bitcoin reaches its price target, it's 66347. So that's still far away. You might want to hang on to that. He's expecting a significant top, though. 14% gain from these levels. But given the volatility inherent in cryptocurrencies, that's certainly something to keep an eye on. That could happen over the weekend. The bottom line. The charts, as interpreted by the legendary Tom Demark, suggest that we might be headed for a major reshuffling. He thinks the Dow, the S&P, Bitcoin, and long-term Treasury yields could have one last hurrah, 2 or 3 solid up days in a row before rolling over. Doesn't necessarily mean they'll stay down. But if Demark's predictions come true, well, then I think you need to get a lot more cautious about the areas that have been winning. Much more Mad Money ahead.
好，刚刚朋友说啊，这个你不是说4月23号吗？这个 Demark 啊，就是这个人 Tom Demark。Jim Cramer 说他是传奇式的技术分析师啊。那么他给出了3个数据，如果你还不知道的话，欢迎你待会儿再重新看我的视频哈。那么这个13这个怎么算呢？这个可能是需要连续2天的一个走高啊。那么现在呢？这个标普呢已经十分接近13、11或者 weekly charts。今天呢，如果大家这个 Tom Demark 所有的股票刚刚有位朋友说 GM 现在走到哪里了或者这个比特币走到哪里了？那么我都会给到大家。如果说今天有兴趣想来通过这个 Demark， 今天参加老王的会员的朋友呢，我会送他一本参加老王1年以上，因为这本书要$100啊。我曾经跟大家讲过，老王的会员是1天1杯咖啡钱这本书呢要$100，所以如果除非你订老王1年的直播那么我送你一本。另外呢，所有加 ChineseFN 168微信的朋友呢，我们会用 Demark 的日 K 线给你画一个这个股票是在底部还是在顶部大家想想 Jim Cramer，Jim Cramer 是一个非常有名的一个人，对吧？他上电视介绍一个技术分析师绝不是平凡之辈，对吧？那么第3，他就告诉大家标普第一个目标是现在是4097他的目标是4139，标普见顶。这个道琼是33959，现在再往上跑400点。QQQ 347见顶然后呢，这个比特币66347。大家拭目以待这个可能是在下周，因为今天标普的话是4097，他说4139，也就是说还有向上4097、4139，可能还有42个点，对吧？那么如果我们来看 QQQ 来看 QQQ。 现在标普的话，QQQ 的位置335，还有12个点，335还有12个点冲高啊，冲高。所以大家把这些数字呢都记下来，来比较一下啊。然后呢，我们有时间呢再 go over 一下。今天呢，老王也给了大家一个优惠啊，如果大家呢想去买这个软件啊，叫 Symbolic， 这个原来是在彭博机里面只针对机构投资者买套餐，就是你买了彭博机以后呢，你还要买一个 add on， 就是买它的一个特殊的服务。那么原来只有 Demark 在彭博机，后来有一个软件啊，期货软件，大概要3000多块钱一年啊，现在呢它只要99块钱啊，所以呢这个东西呢是非常非常 powerful 的一个东西，对于专业的投资者。但是如果你今天参加老王直播节目啊，1年以上的会员，老王就送老王自己拿钱到亚马逊买这本 Demark 的出版的书。同时，任何的会员都可以来问啊，老王，我这个股票用 Demark 指标一人仅限一个因为这个你也可以去用钱去买它的软件，可以 unlimited。那么我今天给了大家这个 Demark 几个数字哈，所以大家呢可以关注一下。好，第二个话题呢就是讲到了昨天给大家的一个福利啊，就是 ASO 这个股票呢。在盘后呢出现了一个急涨然后我们来看 Zero Hedge 是什么情况为什么今天盘后暴涨今天还有第二个视频给大家看就是今天的盘后呢，突然 CNBC 呢，玛丽莎莉这是一个台湾的出生在美国，可能是8、9岁来美国的一个台湾的中国女性那么非常成功，来到 CNBC 当家主播然后呢，他今天呢也做了访问了一个人，说到了这个 ASO 今天其实早盘的时候呢，几乎没有动几乎没有动，还是5分钟呢，大家其实可以看到呢，下跌以后呢几乎没有动，但是盘后突然大涨。想象你昨天如果买进的话，今天已经在这个位置了。所以看老王的，大家。现在做一件事把老王的这个视频锁定加微信，加会员，然后呢点赞加小铃铛，因为老王一出来了就会来给大家做直播大家就会受到益。你不是老王的会员，你昨天买了 ASO 的票，你今天最低大概28块钱，你已经赚了5块钱，对不对？这一波昨天我给大家做的是不是？来看一下，昨天呢，我给大家做 Wall Street Bets 华尔街大赌场排行前3的热议股，突然被小摩抛售700万股，7倍 PE， 团购热线，大家有没有团购？大家有没有团购？没有团购，你就错过了赚钱的机会昨天呢，我给大家做了一个良心的节目，给大家送钱了。OK， 华尔街最顶尖的信息给了大家。好，今天看一下今天华尔街这个说了啥
The Reddit army appears to have a new target. Check out Academy Sports and Outdoors. ASO is a ticker there. The stock having a wild week as retail investors pile in. Justin Zen of ThinkDem Alternative Data joins us on the fast line. He's been tracking on all the chatter on the Wall Street Bets board on Reddit. Justin, it seems like a switch was flipped in terms of the activity on ASO.
Yeah, definitely. So the company, I think, reported blowout earnings on Tuesday. And the chatter on Reddit was still relatively quiet until over the weekend. Basically, it increased 944% between Friday and Monday. And then from Monday to Tuesday, there was a further 240% spike. And today, Academy Sports is actually the second most talked about stock in Wall Street bets.
Is this just off a low base, though, Justin?
It's actually off a pretty high base. It's the second most popular stock behind GameStop, which is pretty fascinating considering there were a lot of other names that were already that are already in play.
You may or may not be able to do this, but what do you extrapolate based on the spike in interest in this name, given what you've seen in GameStop?
Yeah, so if you actually look at the alternative data, it's really interesting. So 76% of Academy Sports, 76% of their stores are actually in states where there's currently no mask mandate. Compare that to 27% for competitors such as Dick's Sporting Goods and 32% for Walmart. So if you actually look at some of the posts on Reddit, you can see some of the commenters there doing due diligence, and I think that contributed to a blowout quarter, and I think it's a consumer brand that Redditors are getting behind.
All right, Justin, thanks for all those insights. We appreciate it.
这个人是中国人吧？啊，叫 Justin Zhen，Z-H-E-N。他蛮逗的，他说 ASO 啊，他这个公司啊，他就是没有要求大家戴口罩，因为他的总部在德州嘛，德州好像是唯一的啊，每一个州他们好像不用戴口罩啊。当然这个被拜登呢是骂了一通啊，但是这个呢，这样不戴口罩反而是让大家啊比较随意啊，所以他相对来讲他的这个季报，我昨天给大家分析了，非常详细的分析了这个股票啊。那么它的季报是 blow out， 非常非常厉害啊！因为我不知道各位啊有没有买股票，知道自己公司的这个状况啊。因为今年呢将是一个为有准备的人准备的一年啊，所以大家看这个 ASO 啊是非常 amazing 的 quarter 啊，这个季报呢赚4块钱。赚4.2块，所以整个全年这个季度呢赚1块1毛3，而且 revenue 是很高的啊，所以这个东西的话，我就觉得大家一定要注意啊，一定要注意，是一个好股票。那么这个票呢来到这儿啊，我觉得呢在0.618这个位置呢有一个机会啊，今天呢我觉得大家呢可以啊等这个机会啊，等这个机会，这个压力呢还是在这儿啊。今天最高到39。当 Melissa Lee 讲了这个票以后呢，大家看到大幅的一个走高，所以以后咱们是不是要把直播节目放到这个一边看 CNBC 一边赚钱呢？啊，是不是啊？所以呢，这个股票呢，昨天呢，咱们提醒了一下啊，昨天来到28啊，我看这个 Twitter 一边做直播的时候呢，有人呢说这个28差不多可以买了，最高到是33。所以有非常好的一个回报率。那么今天还要给大家看一个视频呢，就是最近的股市啊，今天的股市啊，大家做的比较闷啊，很多股票像我昨天讲的 PTON 出现了一个突破，这是这应该说是这个走得非常好啊，这个是这个疫情宅在家的概念股，那么带动了 ZM 啊。ZM 呢也有点这个横盘，准备冲高 ，PLTR 走的也是跃带势，但是总体的小股票比如说 Plug 这些都还在跌 ，FuelCell、Plug 都在跌，这个使大家都很郁闷。今天股市涨那么多，但是大家就是没有赚到钱嘛，所以大家其实很郁闷啊。那么今天呢，我发现了一个视频。非常值得大家呢注意一下哈，注意这个视频。好，这个是 CNBC 自己当家的分析师啊。
Let's get the technical take on that. Does this tech turnaround have real legs? Let's see what the charts say with the chart master, Carter Worth. So Carter, All of the traders, their thoughts on tech predicated on the direction of the 10-year yield. So start us off on that.
Well, sure. But before we get to the charts, I think it's important to say it's not as though tech needs to recover. Tech never has been in trouble. It's just that on a relative basis, the small cap was outperforming to such an extent that it looks as though tech is in trouble. But remember, the spread between small and large, as measured by the Russell 2000 versus the S&P 1 month ago, was wider than it has ever been going back to 1978, except one other time. And so what we're seeing essentially is just mean reversion. Too much money going into small caps, cyclicals, beta, exciting things, as sort of rested champions were resting. Now they're waking up. Anyway, let's look at the yield chart. We know, yes, we all know that yields have been in this perfect 45-degree channel. You can see it there, almost like a pinball machine. Every time we get to the top or bottom, we react to it. And as you all were articulating, so rates get to 177, now we're back to 161, and there's this panic for growth or tech. Why? Before the pandemic, we were at 2%, and people were very happy to do their 3 to 5 year DCF work and give dreamy multiples to Adobe and Amazon and Microsoft and Apple. But now here we are 14 months later, and rates are at 1.7, and they abandoned those dreamy multiples, but now maybe they're going to embrace them again. None of this makes any sense. What we do know is rates have been in a channel, and we're at the top of the channel. Do we have to come back to the bottom of the channel? No. That's my bet. I think you buy TLT here. I think you buy bonds. Anyway, 3 tech charts, or if you will, related charts. The first 1 and 2 are identical, just different annotations. So the second chart, but the first of tech, this is a 2-panel, and what you're looking at is on the top, it's the top 5 stocks in the S&P. You know the names: Amazon, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Apple. Now I've plotted them as a basket, equal weight, and what we know is they've been steadily in an uptrend. But their relative performance, this is the key, the bottom panel, to the Russell 2000 has been straight down. And you can see the arrows that I've drawn there. And so if you look at that chart, that chart has never been in trouble. That top chart is the top 5 stocks, 21% of the S&P. I'm sorry, 21% at this point, and almost $8 trillion. It's just that the relative has been so bad. So it's not tech recovering, it's just that the reciprocal is now changing. So second chart of tech, it's the exact same chart, but look at the trend line on the Russell 2000 relative. We have bounced off that line to the penny 5 times in a row. And guess what happened exactly 4 weeks ago? We touched that line again. So crowding in the small cap, abandoning of rested champions, and rested champions are coming back to life. Finally, last chart, it's also a 2-panel. It's the QQQ, right? The top 5 stocks are about 40% of the QQQ. Top panel, it's ascending. Bottom panel, it's relative performance to the SPX. Basically flat for 7-8 months. This is the opportunity. They're rested, they can reassert themselves again, and it's chasing small caps, cyclicals that are too steep that we think is the bad bet.
Okay, Carter, thank you. Carter Braxton Worth of Cornerstone Macro. So Tim, this goes right to your point of reversion to the mean.
好，这个 Carter 呢讲了非常好的道理，他就是说在这个疫情的时候呢，差不多我们的利率呢是大概2%，随后呢因为疫情呢跌到1.2%，对吗？现在1.6%，然后呢整个的很多的钱呢都去追逐一些小票、毛票、网红票、大姐这些票。因为这个整个的利率比较低，现在利率呢逐渐攀到10年国债呢攀到1.7这个 level 以后呢这个标普与 Russell 2000原来大量的资金呢都投向了标普小股票，非常 exciting 就像老王喜欢做非常 exciting 的事情这样那么这些股票呢都跑去了这些票然后呢我们可以看到呢整个的市场呢出现了这个拐点，现在呢都是抓的大股票所以小票呢反而是不行了，所以到现在为止呢，如果利率逐渐的下滑小票可能就是现在是高科技股大的 fan stock 六虎牙这些股票像疯子一样的涨，因为这个利率呢 John Carter 用一个非常好的比喻啊，就是这些大股呢，6只虎牙 ，Facebook、Apple、Amazon、Netflix、Microsoft、谷歌这6只虎牙股呢，他们呢就像 wrestling champion， 就像摔跤冠军一样，他们是非常的重磅的一些股票。那么在高利率的前提下呢，他们是再度重新受到 favor， 所以大量的资金呢正从小股呢转向了大股，这就是我们这些网红票不能涨的原因。那么是不是可能网红票还会冲高？但是我觉得是非常非常局限的。所以这个周二我们出现了逼空股大涨，昨天有的逼空股利润我不要，今天所有的逼空股都不赚钱。OK， 这就是市场上的给我一个非常好的一个诠释，全部在今天的3个视频里面，好吧？今天的节目呢就是非常非常的简单昨天呢给大家来了很多的优惠，希望大家锁定老王的频道。那么如果大家有兴趣的话，关于这个 Demark 世界顶级的分析师你看过 Demark 你就不要听什么德银这些东西很多朋友他看的还是全是中文的东西，所以他还是 A 股的思维 A 股的操作的模式 A 股的这个逻辑理论。 Anyway OK， 锁定中文网，锁定老王最正宗的华尔街。 Anyway， 如果你喜欢这个我的节目，那么锁定来参加我们的直播间微信号 ChineseFN 168，热线电话800-958-8561咱们长话短说我呢就多给会员聊聊吧，好吧？如果大家有兴趣到会员室来聊。那么我们来看一下问题然后咱们就结束这个节目。今天节目虽然不是很长但是呢咱们非常有意义，看了3个视频 Demark 我也做了笔记，所有的股票到哪个点位我们这个节目也非常非常有意义，因为把它拿过来再看到时候呢你们呢会对这个 Demark 崇拜的不得了因为他去年3月预计了底部，当然8月份他说大盘要到顶了也错了这个人人有错，但是我觉得给我印象最深的就是对中国股票的一个高位的这个说已经到顶部了这个当然不能全信也不可不信，好吧？来，我们来看一下这个朋友们的问题今天没敢买 GM。GM 短期已经到顶了如果你按照标普按照 Demark 的手法，你要小心了你要小心了。你这个 GM 这个图有点像 Uber 有点像 Uber 的走势。4月23号也非常可能是标普的一个拐点4月23号也可能是标普的一个拐点。推荐什么晨晨推荐什么 AGC 100%涨，晨晨讲话多税利100%保证晨晨不涨怎么办？晨晨不涨怎么办？这个公司在这个650北加，这个是一个 blank check 晨晨你这个话呢？这个因为SPAC 大部分 blank check company 大部分都是11块钱，你肯定涨，你在时间范围1年之内肯定涨。不过 anyway 晨晨谢谢你这是一个 blank check company 晨晨蛮逗的，100%涨肯定涨不涨怎么办？晨晨晨晨不涨怎么办？开玩笑好，谢谢大家谢谢大家，感谢，希望大家点赞加订阅今天这个视频呢非常有趣，老王不说所有的目标都放在哪里，到时候我们来点证我没有那么不要脸， 我不像有的人不要脸啊，我们都是把别人他山之石可以攻玉，我们拿过来，好吧？谢谢大家，拜拜。